Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. If you're listening to this on Spotify or if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. Uh, Welcome to the fourth episode of the Late Bird podcast. And today's episode is a bit special. It is with my brother. Gaurav is a PhD student in the Niehrs group at the Institute of Molecular Biology, studying at Mainz in Germany. Uh, he's currently working on ALU biology, and his specifications include cancer biology, epigenetics, and development. Gaurav is my brother, and we went to the same school together. We grew up in the same neighborhood, and we spoke the same language for a long time. And after starting this podcast, we quickly realized that how difficult it is to actually speak to someone that you have spoken in a completely different language for the last, 20 odd years, and now speaking to each other in English for the first time. So it was fun talking about science and the problems that are faced by science, and how the how the people who do not relate to what scientists are coming up with, like what conclusions they are coming up with, how difficult it is to explain to them what it is. So we started this conversation with a balance that this world has. On one end it's arts, and on the other hand it's science, and why both of them is extremely important for a society to go forward. So it's good to start with this meeting point of arts and science. So I'm into the arts field, you're into the science field, and for anyone who is listening or watching to this, Gaurav is my brother, and we both grew up in the same town. Both grew up in the same school, and then we both went into completely different directions. And there's still something that connects us, and I think that is science and arts that is still trying to connect us. So let's just start with your journey, how it started, and why you came into science, uh, why you chose to go into the university that you went to, and then why you chose Germany. So let's start with that progression.
Yeah. Firstly, thanks for having me here. It's like we were just discussing it. So first time that we are doing like this kind of a podcast, or not just this kind of podcast, but a social discussion together. So it's quite exciting. Yeah. As you said, yeah, we grew up in this very beautiful town of Chiplun. I still quite miss it, even though I have been to many different parts of the world, not so many, but I still miss that town, and there is always something special about that town. But yeah, I mean, I think so it was just the relaxed atmosphere, all the support from all the people, the locals and everything. I think so that is what pushed me towards pursuing what I like the most, rather than getting into the rat race of one specific stream, let's say. It was just the beautiful village of Narvan, which was so relaxing that you just forget all your worries. You start the next academic year with completely fresh mind. It's, I think so, the best settings a child can ever have. And yeah, with that, if you get really motivated teachers in school who push you towards pursuing science, yeah, I mean, I think so it's a great combination for anyone to continue as a researcher, I would say, in that context. But yeah, I started in Chiplun till my 12th standard. And then I went to IISER Pune for doing my bachelor's and master's. The whole reason for me pursuing science rather than going for the medical field, which I was also quite hung up on for some time, was just the sheer way in which I started pursuing the medical field after a point. It just, even though it's a very important field, socially important field, according to me still, but it was just not doing the thing which I like the most, which was just pursuing the curiosity of something which I don't know yet. I mean, that is what I like the most about research, that if you do something, you are the first person in this whole world who knows that particular thing. There is no one else, and I like that feeling basically, and I want still to have that feeling in future, that okay, I am the first person to know something which nobody has ever seen before. And I think so this was the most central point of me pursuing research. And luckily it was also something, during my masters I had the opportunity to go also elsewhere in the world outside of Pune basically, and so I went there for 1 year for my masters, and I really liked the mindset of the people here. It's very research motivated, and also it's very professional, I would say. It's, they take research also very professionally. It is something which they are very motivated about, and which they are very, very keen and interested about. You can see them in their passion when they're working in the lab, when they're discussing or presenting in a conference. It's very motivating to just watch them and observe them, how they are basically living this scientific world basically. And at the same time, yeah, I mean, there were a lot many other options also. I mean, the US was also a good side to take, but I was not interested in again in sitting in class for another 2 years, taking lectures again for 2 years, and then starting the actual research. It was just not, according to me, it did not fit my timeline basically. And United Kingdoms was going through Brexit back then, and of course, any country in any kind of problems always cuts scientific funding first, which indeed also happened. And yeah, it was therefore not a good place to be, in my opinion, back then when I had to make the transition to a PhD. And Germany, with my 1 year of experience, seemed like a very good place to be in. And I also found a very nice institute, a very good project here in Mainz. And yeah, this is what is still keeping me going, the curiosity of hopefully finding something new one day.
So, like from what you have said until now, and maybe in the past when we used to talk, um, when I was going through some of my own existentialist thoughts, and when we used to talk about that, there is something about having a profound goal in front of you and trying to achieve that goal, and it gives you a lot of strength to actually wake up every day, get back into the routine, and start working all over again, because otherwise it's extremely difficult, right? It's extremely difficult to wake up each day in the morning and have some motivation behind you to keep going. So having that goal, is that helping you move forward? Because all of us are lazy. Like I am the most laziest, to be honest, most of the days. Otherwise I'm not. But is it helping you?
Yes, of course. I mean, research, like I said, so far looks very fancy when you are entering the field for the first time, but there are also so many ups and downs that really having one central motivation and staying true to that motivation is, I think, so very critical if you want to survive the ups and downs of a research field. It's very disheartening, like completely, you, it crushes your motivation so many times within a week, let's say, that it becomes very critical that you, okay, sit back and think, okay, why are you here in the first place? Why are you living so far away? Why are you pursuing this still? Okay, that I think so is very, very important to have. Without that, yeah, you are bound to face many issues here.
So you went through your first like major challenge when I think you were trying to come up with some ideas, and it didn't fit with a lot of people over there. If we can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always quite tricky in science. I mean, I think so. It's especially because everyone is trying to, how do I say this? Everyone trusts their own results and whatever they have done in the past. And I think so after a point, they just stop looking at it as thoroughly as they would have when they were in their, let's say, the first year of their PhD, because they just get used to it or habituated to that whole field, and they think, okay, they know everything. And then it also happened to me so many times that after a point, the reading part goes down, and then you start believing, okay, I have been in this field for so long that, yeah, I mean, I think so I know better than many other people in this field. And this kind of false overconfidence, I think so, is very harmful in a research field, and or any other field, I would say. That is what I think so led to one issue during some last year of my PhD, that it was this, it's always a recurring crisis in research where basically many labs complain that, yeah, we could not reproduce the other labs results or whatever. I mean, for there could be multitude of reasons. And I mean, I think so this is one of the biggest crisis in research, and many publication houses are trying also to put in checkpoints in place so that these things are minimalized to the least. But there are so many minor details that people can miss.
How is I believe this is like a major topic in science right now, that there are lots and lots of fake papers. There's lots of corroded evidence on what is happening actually, and what research is going on, and there's so many papers that are not up to the point. How much is uh, new tech, or new tech companies like Google, and from where you actually get resources? Like I recently read one of the a guy somewhere in Amsterdam. He was studying in Utrecht University, I guess, and he was a professor, and he published so many fake papers, and he was professor of psychology. Published so many fake papers, and no one knew that he was publishing fake papers for, I think, more than 8 to 10 years. And that is when the students actually went back and started researching on it, and actually sent a letter to the dean of the university, I'm presuming, and that is when the process started. So how big of a role is new tech, and media tech, multimedia companies, and like Google, Facebook, and all of these are playing in the falsifying of information in at least your field?
I would say the role of big companies in this kind of, let's say, the proofreading part of research is, at least as far as I'm aware, is not as high. It's usually very individual based. I mean, I have seen two systems working here, at least in Germany. One is that people basically start these kind of proofreading systems as like a startup, and then they literally have people visit your institute. These people go through literally every piece of your data, and then they give like a rating to your published paper. Basically, is it all fine? Was everything well documented? Was there something issues in terms of the way the analysis was done? Was something
Right.
goofy, or these kind of things? But at the same time, I think so we also, this was also something we recently discussed in our lab, in one of, because we have this thing called journal clubs, where basically every 2 weeks we discuss a new paper or a new idea or something new in the field, which is not something we work on in the lab. And this was something which came up in one of the meetings, actually, that there are publishing houses in many of these countries, especially where, especially this was brought to our attention in the field of medical sciences, actually, because many of these junior doctors need to sometimes publish literature to get to a tenure or a permanent position. And then these are somehow targeted by these fake companies, actually, where it's, they have literally written a program which can just make a paper out of thin air. You can even look it up. I will have to check the name of the exact website, but literally you just give them the keywords, like completely random keywords, and it will literally write you a paper. I mean, it's still something which they are like work in progress, but these websites based on machine learning, basically, so they more the people are trying, or more training data sets you have, they are getting better and better. So you just put in, let's say,
Right.
3 words, let's say one protein of your interest, one disease name, and something which you think could also be linking them together, and it
and
will just
they
write
can
a
get an
completely
entire
fake
paper out.
paper.
Wow.
They can write a complete fake paper, and then yeah, I mean, there were many publication agencies which caught these kind of trends. I mean, there are proper research journalists who do this kind of, how do I say, forensic analysis of these research articles.
Right.
And I just know her first name. Her first name is Elizabeth. She's a very senior. I think so. She's called a forensic journalist for these research articles, who was then able to basically find like a common trend in these papers. So she literally could find the pattern in these titles and how you can identify whether that paper is written in a fake manner, because they
Wow.
always followed the title of these papers always followed one particular pattern. The
Right.
name of some gene, some name of the disease, some filler words like and or the. It was
Right.
that precise. I mean, they were not even changing those details. I mean, and then you can make any paper you want basically. And there are publication companies. They are known to make such kind of fake papers and just flood basically the publication agencies with these kind of
Mm.
articles. And it is now, I think so, a very tricky task for these big companies like you're mentioning, Google and so on, to or develop algorithms which can detect these kind of fake papers at
Mm.
the submission level itself.
And how, like, keeping on the same topic, how much credible, because I've heard from a lot of people now that not many people in at least research go on Google Scholar anymore. Like they are trying to dig in more deep, because it's a very favored when it comes to research. Google gives a favored review, and this is very well known now, at least in the scientific industry, that Google gives a very favored review of most of the papers that it brings up. So how are people trying to, and our universities or labs trying to go around this problem of having favored literature reviews that come out on, let's say, Google Scholar, for example?
Yeah, usually nowadays, to circumvent in a way these kind of review system, one way the publishing houses are one way out of this is that the publishing houses just put out to the open public the reviews basically written by the reviewers themselves. Basically,
Right.
every article has to undergo this peer reviewing process where three or
Right.
four completely anonymous reviewers will review your article, who are of course well known in their research field. And these so far these reviews, feedbacks which these reviewers gave, either criticisms or good points about the paper, were always basically just a communication between the publication journal and the authors of the manuscript. It was never made public. But there are now many of these journals like eLife and so on who are trying to make these reviews also now public, so that people can know what criticism this article faced, what were the drawbacks, and how
Right.
did the authors also reply to back. So then it
Right.
puts all the onus on the readers now to decide, okay, are they convinced or not, instead of depending on some other third party to make their decision for them.
Right. Right.
I think so that's a
uh,
very good initiative. Yeah.
you know just to dabble into my section, into arts. So when I was studying, there were lots of papers that were written towards the end of my university, and the thesis that was being written, at least in arts field, um, there were so many like pointless papers coming out, at least which I saw, which were talking about, like, um, Kim Kardashian's TV show, like, literally something that is useless when it comes to even arts, that is useless. So this is literally everywhere. This is not just in the arts field, because I quickly learned that this is not just arts field. You go to computer science, you go to biology, anything. This is everywhere. Uh, how how do you think can we tackle this entire thing? Because it seems like it is changing the perception and the view in which science was viewed for like hundreds of years, because it is changing science into a belief system in many ways, and scientists don't like to have science as belief systems. At least I presume so. Scientists usually like to have a thesis and an antithesis, and then you get a desired result, which can be challenged afterwards as well. So, what are your views on that?
At least in the field of biology, I don't think so. This is a big problem. It's actually something. So, whenever you look for an article or a review or a journal or something, it's always that you go nowadays just as a blind way of looking into whether the quality of the journal. It's usually the impact factor and these kind of things. In itself, it's a bad thing sometimes, but also it helps you a lot because these kind of unnecessarily how do I say, not non-scientific articles are already filtered out in this kind of process, and very few make through maybe in some fake journals or very low popular journals, and which usually don't even get our attention at all. So in a way it's a good thing because we are not aware. At least when I'm looking for these kind of articles, it's very rare that I see these kind of unscientific articles in the field, even though the title promises a lot basically. So it's very rare to come across these articles at least.
Right. And also to mention,
Yeah.
you also review articles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also quite fun sometimes. Yeah. Especially I would say it's fun because as a student, it gives me also a perspective on what points I will be criticized on in future. Because if I am criticizing about certain points in somebody else's paper, I better be ready that okay, they can come back with the same exact points. So rather than taking it as a reviewer's job, I'm taking it more as a self-reflection point. I would say that okay,
Right.
if I were in their shoes, this is what I'm going to do. Then
Right.
it's only fair if they do the same to me.
Right. Right. So, how was Switzerland?
It was fun.
Because it is pretty well known, at least everywhere, that when you're studying something like at least in the scientific field, then you go out on retreats and hikes and whatnot. So how do you like that part of being a research scientist?
I would say it's a very fun part of the work life, I would say. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. It's also good if you're going away on a conference or some kind of a retreat where you're not going with your everyday colleagues. So the or the training session which I recently had the opportunity to visit in Austria was bringing together other fellows from all different universities, from all different parts of Europe, and then also some from US. And it was a very good perspective to see, okay, first thing was very clear that everyone is facing some or the other problems. It's not just me who is
Mm.
going through these troubles during the research. So it was a very common theme, and it was surprisingly quite soothing, I would say, to see, okay, even though it was a bad thing happening to all of us, it was quite soothing that it is not just me who is facing these troubles.
Mm.
But at the same time, it was also very motivating to see how labs who do not have also the resources, let's say, which I am provided currently with, if they are coming up with really brilliant ideas, it's just that the idea is so great that you don't need fancy equipments or techniques or whatever to just get to. It's just sheer genius, basically, these ideas. And I mean, hearing to such kind of talks from your own peers rather than some very experienced researcher or a professor talking, I think so is
Mm.
a much better perspective which you get if you go on retreats rather than conferences. So in my opinion, I mean, of course, conferences give you a different perspective where the field is going.
Mm.
But as a PhD student, I think so the retreat side is a much better both for your work life and also for your, yeah, for the fun part of your life. Yeah.
So you were basically on retreat, I guess, where where they were trying to teach you guys how to explain things to the layman, explain things to the normal people. So quickly, just to make everyone a bit more knowledgeable about your field, epigenetics, and what's happening in that, and cloning, and cancer biology. What is happening in that field right now? Are we
Yeah,
advancing? Because
yeah, surely.
news is just we are just going to die in like 200 years. So
Yeah, I think so. Science is a lot more optimistic than the news. Always. But yeah, I mean, just to quickly summarize, I mean, epigenetics is one tiny part of molecular biology, which is just studying all these tiny molecules at their basically how they are functioning at the molecular level, meaning how these proteins, DNA, RNA are interacting with each other to carry out something unexpected, like emergent property, basically, which is the cellular activities. And in my case, it's more the epigenetic side, which is basically, as you know, all of us come from one single cell, which divides and divides and divides and gives rise to us. But we are also very complex because we are not just one cell type. We are having our hair, our skin, our different organs, and so on. I mean, it's
mm,
every tissue for itself, even though it started from just one identical cell. Every cell shares the exact same genome. There is nothing different in any of the cell in our body, but still they look so different, they behave so different, they perform different functions. And this is basically the central idea behind epigenetics, that is something above the genetic code, basically, that there are some mechanisms which regulate our genome, basically our
mm,
genes, in a way that without changing the sequence of them, you are giving rise.
mm,
So every human being, not just me, I mean, more or less every human being shares the same genome, but they are so distinct from one another.
mm,
So this is basically the idea of epigenetics. And my field is also more in the side of the embryonic development. So how in these early stages of embryonic development, epigenetics plays a role. And yeah, this is more or less the field I'm currently doing my PhD in.
right.
And
So no, go on.
yeah, I mean, it's a quite fascinating field. I mean, I was always, yeah, I mean, of course, your perspective changes about stem cells with more and more you work with them, of course. I mean, it's in the beginning when I was in 11th, 12th, it was like, okay, wow, so cool. I mean, it's stem cells. My God, I can make whatever I want, whatever cells I want. And then you start working with them. It's, of course, very different, I would say, than what your expectations were, because it's a
Mm,
very tricky thing. You actually start respecting the whole process because it's
right.
such a complex process. And the news, or like, this is what it's a good thing that that one should be able to explain it to layman terms, or to a child like me when I was back a child.
Mm,
but but over time, I think so also we need to make them more aware of the nitty-gritties also. I mean, it's not that fairy tale like story. I mean, there are so
mm.
many minor details which you have to be aware of. And I mean, of course, this is something which you become aware of when you enter research. But yeah, I think so it's still fascinating, even in spite of all these challenges.
Yeah, can I ask you a question about something that I came across? So, in the past few months, I've been reading into a lot of different scientific fields, and I came across Rupert Sheldrake. And Rupert Sheldrake is the British scientist who came up with the term morphic resonance. That when you instruct one small like one rat in Germany to do one thing, it will resonate through the entire rats around, eventually over the time. And then I started reading into Rupert Sheldrake a bit more, and he goes quite a bit away from the materialist point of view of science, and he tries to bring it in these aspects of us, like the genes having a memory, and sometimes you can have some some animal that has gone extinct for like 20 million years can come back to life because the specific genes have memory attached to it that can bring back those forms in life. But all these ideas, and many more like this, eh, it becomes weak when it comes to science, because this is where science kind of breaks away and says that this is more into the spiritualistic and mystical realm of things. And more and more science is actually going towards that exact point where it's coming back and saying that, oh, okay, we actually did not know as much as we used to think before. And it's ever changing. And now you have, at least in Johns Hopkins, you have these retreats where you can actually go and have like different psychedelic uh, uh, ceremonies in the institute, which would be like out of someone's mind for like 50 years back. So why, I mean, of course I understand there's friction between, because science is like a team spirit. It's not like a one person job, that one person comes up and says that this is it, this is how it is, and it's not like that. So why is there so much friction and so much you know no against saying no against this spirituality and mystical and something like that, like those realms? Why is there such a hard negative in the scientific field about this?
Hmm.
Is it a bad question?
No, I mean, no, I'm just thinking. I mean, maybe it is just because science is trying to be giving answers to everything in a very objective manner, like it is just trying to find, okay, I mean, it's not saying that there is only one answer, but it is
Right.
just trying to say that whatever the answer is, we can say objectively, yes, this is it. You cannot be anything else once you find it, basically. But I think so this is something which becomes a lot more subjective when spiritualism comes into picture, because you can take things in different context, and maybe different ways of approaching spiritualism can help you in that case. And I think so this is a very big conflict at its core itself, that one is trying to say no, you have to be objective, and the other is trying
Yeah.
to say no, it can be fluid, it is context dependent, it can change, you have to be
This is
open.
the good part about scientists, that they never come out and say, okay, I believe in this or that. They're just like, yeah, I mean, maybe no.
You see, there is always some fluidity still left in a scientist also, yeah.
That's actually good. Yeah, so maybe we can dabble into something else. You like doing painting, so what's happening there? Why do you like something like a painting can bring out? What can painting bring out for you?
I think so with the painting, it was, again, I mean, just, of course, I liked doing painting since I was a child. I mean, I had given it up for a very substantial long amount of time when I had got completely focused in studies, okay, career oriented, blah, 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 blah. And it was just something which I had stopped doing voluntarily. I mean, it was not something forced on or something, but yeah, I think so. The part of arts or paintings in general is something which, it's like it's in right in front of you, but still you have to think a lot to understand it. Like physically, you see a painting or art form or something, it's happening right in front of your eyes. But to interpret it, but to understand it, it's not happening live in that very moment. You go back to a painting, you see a different perspective. You think of doing something differently the next time. You go to a dance show or a completely artistic performance on a street for that matter. It's never the same. I mean, and I think so this somehow resonates with me in science as well, even though, like I said just now, that science is all about trying to be objective. But the more and more time you spend, you start realizing that this is not really true. After a point, there will be some amount of subjectivity that you need to have. Things will change over time. Your ideas will change over time. And I think so it's the paintings or these art side in my life basically keeps that subjectivity alive, I would say, and keeps me still open to thinking a bit away from this rigid mindset, which, let's say, the regular scientific work sets my mind to. Because if I diverge a lot, if I am not focused in my regular research work, there is no way that I can move forward. It's as simple as that. You need to have your 100% attention there. You cannot be just, okay, doing it for fun. Research is not for fun. It's something which you have to take this seriously. And then I think so arts just gives the other side of the story, I would say, and which is equally fun to me after I started doing it again after such a long period of time. And it went well and complemented very well both these uh, equally important mindsets, I would say. So this is why, yeah. And also, it's also beautiful to, again, create something. In science, you are finding something which already exists. In art, you are creating something and trying to find something in it. So
coming back to the point where we started, and we hit the record button a bit too late, but this is exactly what we were talking about, the science and arts aspect of it, that both are standing on the edges, both are standing on the extreme edges of wherever the society is. Society is somewhere in the middle over here, and society likes to ask these guys, what are you up to? And society likes to ask these guys, what are you up to? And whatever these guys bring, society can progress, and whatever these guys bring, the society can contemplate on it. So both are extremely important to the society. Otherwise, even if one of it is gone down, the if the balance is disturbed a bit, like we had in the past couple of years, the balance is being disturbed quite a bit. Societies can misfunction. There can be if you don't have arts in a society to think, then you can see what happens in a society like India, for example, which is completely throwing off its art side and saying that we are just going to be progressive, we are just going to be Western, and because of that, in a way, they are destroying their own culture. They are destroying their own, skepticism. The skepticism that was in India for so long, and maybe this is the reason why someone like you is in Germany, studying in Germany and not in India, even though you could have done that. But you know what I mean?
yeah, but this is also something which I actually disagree with many people. I mean, of course, I agree that there are many, how do I say, policies or changes which the government or the society in India is trying to bring about. But when I am thinking of just about research, I mean, just let's say keeping in mind, I mean, I think so the reason that we need to be progressive, both infrastructurally and mentality wise also, is that because we do not, I think so it's just because that we do not lack the intellect. Whenever I am here in Germany or whenever I am meeting some people from Europe or US for that matter, I do not find that we as Indians are not intellectually good. We are,
Mm,
I would say, we are as equal as they are in our thinking, scientifically, I would say. It's just that the amount of resources that we are provided are
mm,
so limited that as a final resulting outcome, you will say that, okay, we are trying to be progressive, but we are achieving nothing, basically.
mm,
We are
mm,
dumping arts, but we are also making no progress in science independently.
mm,
But I think so, it's also equally important to understand that, or to have this confidence in yourself, that this is, I think so, the biggest thing which one should understand when he or she is trying to go outside of India for any kind of work. They have to be clear with themselves that are they going outside just because they think their peer in India is not as equally talented, or are they going just for getting the experience or doing the exact same thing in a shorter time because the resources are available in the other country. In my case, it was the later. Never thought that in India people are not talented for research. I think so. They are equally excellent as I have seen people here. They have equally excellent ideas. It's just the amount of sheer time and resources. They just don't have it. I mean, I have experienced it twice. It could be a very biased opinion which I'm having here, but I think so. This is something which I came about in my experience. I mean, just imagine. I mean, you have to do like a tiny sequencing. I mean, it's such a simple thing you can imagine. Here they have it literally the equipment in their basement, basically, where you just give the
mm,
sample. The next day you have the result. In IISER Pune, where I was back 3-4 years ago, we had to submit the sample. That sample will go to Singapore or Malaysia just because, or to Bangalore for that matter, not even in Pune. It used to go
mm,
to all these crazy places just because they did not either have the infrastructure or just for the money. And then you can imagine this simple thing, which is done here in hardly 12 hours, used to take 1 week. And then, I mean, you can just imagine now that, of course, then these things add up in a PhD, for example. And then, of course, your PhD is going to be 7 years. And then
yeah.
you see outside in Germany, you see, okay, wow, it's very lucrative to think, okay, you are done in your PhD in your 3 or 4 years of your
Mm.
work. It's a very lucrative thing, I think so, to catch your
There's a lot
attention.
of infrastructure
But
that goes into it.
yeah, I mean, this is something which people do not think about. They just see that, okay, there is brain drain. My God, everyone is running out
Mm,
because India is going into such a bad phase or something. I do not think so. It is not because of that. It is just because you can do the exact same thing in a shorter amount of time. It's not because the people are not talented in India. I mean, I
mm,
remember, I mean, in one of the internships I was doing in IISER Kolkata, when IISER Kolkata was not even in its permanent campus yet. They, even after almost 7 or 8 years of starting the institute, they still had these makeshift laboratories, basically, where I was doing this internship. It was a very eye-opening experience because the PhD student back then who was mentoring me and him used to sit, basically, he used to ride the bicycle. I was sitting behind on this carrier holding the ice box, and we used to go 1 kilometer away to another institute which was for chemistry and just to pick up some ice for our work. And here we are just going literally 10 feet from where I am working to just pick up ice. In 1 hour I'm done working, I just dump the ice, I can go again. You know, back then we had to think about a simple thing like ice, that okay, how much do we need, when should we go, how do we plan our experiments if this chemistry people used up all the ice and after reaching there we see nothing there. you know I mean, these kind of perspectives, when you see, you understand that it is not that people are less talented in India and that's why people are leaving India. It is
mm,
more about these kind of details which people, until and unless you go through that experience, you will never realize this,
mm.
that it's just about the resources and time.
I mean, I think it's the same for me because when I was in Pune and I had to do when I was doing learning photography, uh, I had to literally go all around Pune to get like bits and pieces of whatever I wanted from my uh, photography for my photography. And there's the specific cells you get in this place, which is like 20 kilometers this way. A specific a drapery or whatever background that you're going to put. You get into this direction 30 kilometers, and then in England, everything was just there, and you just had to go in. You just had to get whatever equipment you needed, and you can return anytime you wanted. There's no time limit, or you don't have to go and show your equipment every single day. Where they'll just sign it and say, okay, you have actually brought it in. So it changes a lot. It just gives you a lot of freedom, not just in your activity, not just in what you're doing, but also mentally you're a bit more free in that sense. So yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. But I think so. This is also something which happens when you come to a country outside India, actually. That there is, of course, I mean, it's a very good thing that these people are brought up in a very research oriented or a very scientific, let's say, mindset. But then they don't also, they're not aware of all these, let's say, physical hardships or resource limitations that you have
Mm,
seen in India and why you are there, They just
mm,
say, think of you as just another person who is just trying to increase his scope of work or
mm,
contacts or just experiencing a new place for, yeah, for the sake of, I mean, it's more than that to us, according to me. I mean, it's more about, it feels very bad when I see new people joining the lab or students from Europe who are coming just for as a student interns for
mm,
3 months. How it feels very wasteful to me the way they are basically approaching a problem. You, I always believe, even when I was in IISER Pune, I always was of the opinion that yes, IISER Pune is giving us a very excellent opportunity, state of the art facilities, and everything we could ever wish for in the research field. But then it's always important for them to give us the other's perspective also, like how you can do the same thing. Of course, you have to think a lot, do some additional physical work, or blah 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 blah. So many things you can do, but it is not the only way that to solve a problem. That you just have a lot of research money. That is not the only solution. I think so. This is a big and a very bad mindset which people have in general. That big money equals big research.
right,
I,
right,
I could never understand it, or I don't think so I can ever support it. I understand it, realistically speaking, it's very critical to have more money for your research, but then I start missing the fun of research. Then it's just about accumulating money so that you can do one more extra experiment rather than doing that one crazy cool experiment which you always wanted to do.
right.
Yeah,
And
I mean it's
how yeah, go on.
no, I mean it's always bad to see that research is becoming like a business industry. Like it's
Mm,
research needs to have that old charm to it where it was about like, okay, going crazy about over an idea, not letting it go out of your head, and then bam, finding the solution in that. Now it is more about making it to a business. That okay, how can I publish this, how can I make a story out of it, how I can publish it so that I can apply for a next publishing agency or a funding agency grant application. It's more and more about surviving rather than researching. I mean, and I really think, I mean, of course I understand a lot of hardships will come if you don't have publications, if you don't have money, but I don't know, I somehow am always conflicted with this side of research.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels. Like when you say all these things, there's a lot of parallels that I can see between your field and my field. It's basically the same. There's no difference. Like you have to write so many applications to get funding. You have to get published in many magazines and photography journals or something like that. And the fun part is when you're actually working on your project, like the one that I'm going to do right now. That is the fun part, but everything else that you have to do to get to that point is just, it um, it can break someone. It can. That is why there's such a small amount of people actually working in these fields, because it's a lot of filtering process that happens. At least I've seen in my um, the college that I was studying in Pune. Most of the people who I studied with are not in photography anymore. Like uh, I'd say 5% of the people that I studied with, not even five, like 3% of the people I studied with are still doing photography. No one else. No one else is studying arts, and I mean, I'm pretty sure that should be the same case with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even like the number of students doing PhD is, of course, I mean, still very high. But
Mm,
after that, getting a position for research, like a proper academic position for research, I mean, researcher is very, very difficult, not just in India, but also here in Europe. I mean, the amount of turnover there is so limited that, yeah. And of course, you cannot just go on building new research institute. It's not that simple of a solution. Yeah. I mean, every research institution, first of all, is costing you money, administration, logistics, so many more things than just putting in the money.
yeah.
So that is not the solution. I mean, and absolutely, I mean, you have to deal with this at some or the other point. And I always had this crazy idea: what would happen if, you know, yeah, okay, 7 years of your research work or whatever, 15 years of research work, and then you're done. Okay, bye bye. Just enjoy the rest of your life doing something else. It's a
Never happened.
very, very stupid and crazy thought. I completely agree with my own stupidity. I mean, I don't see any other way out rather than just having this recycling in place. You know, like you need to have the old
Mhm.
researchers out and new researchers the opportunity to start something new. Otherwise, you will be stuck in this rut of the same research topic for years and years and years.
It will get
But
stagnant after a while.
exactly, and this is what is already happening, right? I mean,
Mm,
that's why people are unable to find proper jobs. But of course, then the industry becomes lucrative, and then there are also people criticizing that life choices of academicians who go to
mm,
industry. It's almost like selling yourself out for more money is what they look at it, but they don't understand that these people just don't have a place to work where they
yeah.
are qualified for. They are also after a point just out of options. They have to survive also.
Yeah, and that is why uh, most of the people studying in these in this industry have to, in the end, take a job which they are not completely ethically aligned with that job perspective, or whatever it is, but they still have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, kind of the story of every single person in our generation, I think, because I don't know if we are the least fortunate generation. I think there's more to come, but uh, yeah, I mean, this is a huge this is going to turn into a huge issue if not tackled at the right moment. And I mean, just trying to brush up on this one topic, and previously I had different ideas about this, but now the more I see it, the more I kind of understand it. But the entire vaccine rollout, and the entire thing about, at least, like, I'm still trying to make come to a sense about this, and trying to come to a point when uh, there's still so many problems that I see in this entire thing. Not about the vaccines, of course, but the politics that actually happens behind this thing, and the red list countries and the yellow list countries, and why can't someone from Africa travel into Europe, and why can't someone from India travel into England, or vice versa. And it's always a problem about the brown man and the black man or woman, or it's always centered around these specific areas, and then everything else is just open. You can do whatever you want, but there is a lot of problem when it comes to the politics of this entire thing. And I know you have you must have different views to me, because it's just basically what I've seen in the past. Like honestly, this is, and I cannot just throw out or throw away my experience and just say that this didn't happen, because I was traveling through Wales, I was traveling through Scotland, through this entire first, second, third lockdown, and then India back. And we've seen the foraging and the what happens around the world. And uh, how do people in your community at least look at this topic? How do they what do they think about this? Because I'm pretty sure, like, no one who is actually spending so much time into creating something noble like a vaccine would be thinking of this other part that is extremely bad.
I'm not sure whether there was an issue with the race, or something. I absolutely agree that there was a lot of issue with the politics, the way it was handled and how it was for the policies were formulated. Of course, it was, I think, also the first experience ever for every one of us to deal with such a catastrophe in the 21st century. The previous one was just like, okay, you simply can't do anything. People have to die. Now the thing was that you want them to survive with the resources you have, but then comes the next problem, which the previous generation did not have to face, which was now, how do we spread this thing around? How do we prioritize someone? How do we decide on who gets it, who does not, when, and so on? I think so. It's again, it's like, how do I say? I think so. The next step, this time we got a solution. Okay, if I hope this thing never happens again, but if this happens, we at least have one experience, I think so, with us, that okay, these were the problems. We improved at least. Personally, I'm happy that we improved upon something than the last round of this catastrophe. And I think so the next one will be even simpler to deal with relatively with this experience we have. But in the research field, I did not find so much of issues. Of course, in the end, you have to depend on the policies made by the government and everyone, even though you might think otherwise. But of course, when it comes to the society or to the public, you do not have executive power as a researcher. You absolutely have none. You
do,
are
do,
just,
do you wish you had?
yes. And because of this, I also sometimes thought after doing my PhD to enter the field of science policy making.
Right.
But then again, you are like advisors to someone.
Right. So
You're not the
yeah,
executors. There is always a step there. You're always either the advisors and never the executors when you are in research.
yeah. So
Either
again,
you have to
conflict of interest comes
completely,
in.
yeah, or you just have to completely say this, yeah, from here on, I am not involved in the part of research, but I want to have only executive roles. So you basically just do a change of complete fields. You just go from
Right.
doing actual research to more of the execution phase, which is also still fine. But again, to get executive power in India, for example, as you can imagine, or in any country you can imagine, is very difficult task. It's not just as easy as saying, yes, I was a researcher, give me executive powers in research related topics. No, no one is going to be that naive.
No, no. No one would let that power go away. That's
Yeah,
the problem.
yeah.
That's the problem.
So I think so. It's more to do with who has the executive power, no? And this is something which we can change upon in the meantime, rather than criticizing basically how badly it was handled, which it was. There is no denying that. But I think so it's always important to understand what can be improved the next time around also.
Mm.
And this was also something, I mean, there was always this discussion which was happening in our lab also, that yeah, see, now the whole world is going to understand how important it is to fund biomedical research.
Mm.
There are going to be new institutes popping up. There is going to be new research, state of the art research in treating these old diseases
Mm.
which are not curable yet. Come on, but now what is happening? Nobody cares. There is a completely different issue in perspective, and I mean, yeah, the attention is diverted. So what? Okay, we dealt with it. People are not dying anymore. Done.
Good, maybe.
Done. So again, we are back to square one. I think so. But this is the problem. Rather than just forgetting about it, we need to learn from that experience. And I mean, it's as simple as that. You need more research in this area when there is no disease around.
I'm pretty sure this must have been the same problem throughout the past so many centuries.
Exactly.
From
Exactly.
when Galileo said you can look up to the stars, and Earth is not the center point, and we all know what happened with him. Or this is what has been consistently happening. Like someone like Giordano Bruno, is the same thing that happened to him. So there's nothing new here. It's just that no one is getting executed in the process. I think that's the good part. Let's say we have come a bit further than straight out saying that no, I don't agree with you. You should go up on the altar and just get killed. We'll not fund you. That's that's
Yeah. But I mean, it's also important for us to realize that, I mean, it's always that a necessity of something leads to new research, right? I mean, it's always the case that you need something, you research. But it's also important to understand that you don't do the research when the necessity has already started. You need to anticipate a necessity and then do research. So
right.
it's as simple as that. People are just taking these two lines independently. Yeah, there is a necessity, you do research
Yeah, yeah,
without considering the fact that you do research before the necessity arises.
yeah.
It's always a fail-safe plan which you need to have.
But I mean, that's uh, I'm diverting, but I think it's the same with many artists throughout the centuries. They have predicted such a straightforward and such a precise model of the future centuries. Many of the times they have predicted so precisely what is going to come up in the future. But people uh, usually or the um, societies that we live in usually uh, do not uh, anticipate such people, because you said scientists are out there finding something, but that is also the creative part in you. That is also the part in you that is out on the edge, who is trying to find something that is not here in the society, that no one knows about. And when you're doing something like that, you should be rather appreciated by the society. But it's pretty much the otherwise most of the time. So this is
It's
never
going
going to
to be,
change, I
right?
guess.
Because, yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? I mean, it's a collective decision that we need to have. I mean, it's always about the cost and the benefit, right? When there is
Mm,
no necessity, the cost is always going to look higher for research. People are
mm,
just going to say, yeah, people are dying of hunger. Why spend millions and millions of dollars in some medication or some kind of research which we don't even think is required at this point?
mm,
Research takes times to come into our daily lives as a habit. I mean,
mm.
and once it is, but you always have to think about this, that sometimes you need to pay the cost for a very long time. It's almost like an insurance policy, right? I mean, you
Right,
pay insurance your whole life in the event that something bad goes. And if you are having that mindset already with the insurance policy, why not with research, right?
right, right. No, I completely agree with that point. I think we have covered like most of the topics that we were going to cover, and um, the again, just to bring this out, we both are native Marathi speakers. We have spoke to each other in Marathi for like the longest period of time, and this is literally the first time that we are speaking to each other in English. So that is why we are having that a short gap, because if we had to speak in Marathi, we could do it like that. It's not that difficult. Um, but getting back to the point about bringing out something that is going to happen in the future and trying to tell it right now. This was basically the theme of at least my work that I'm going to do in the next like 8 to 10 days. I mean, you know it, but I'll still anyway try to tell everyone about it. That was basically the interest that I had in walking from the Arabian Sea to the Bay of Bengal. That is exactly why I started this, because last time when I did something similar to this around the Aurangabad sector, and when I actually saw, like, sometimes I think to myself that it is a good thing to be in a university. It is a good thing to be doing something from inside a space, in an enclosed space. But when you actually go out and hit the road, it's the practicality of that entire thing. It's just too much, and the things that you get from it, like, you're doing something that is going to benefit a lot more people than you, and I'm specifically talking about you right now. But when you actually go out in the field and see who is actually getting affected by it and who is getting the benefits or the drawbacks or whatever, it changes a lot in you, and it starts this quest this entire different journey that you go on to. And this is what brought me back to India, and this is why I did not stay for the next couple of years in England, which I could have at that point. But this is what brought me back to India. And uh, this project that I'm taking on, maybe it would have not been exactly the same. Maybe it would have not been the stretch that I was thinking of. It would have been in different directions or something else. But the point of walking and just not knowing, just having a destination in mind and not knowing what is going to happen in that journey, uh, it's something that just amazes me every single moment, because anything can happen in that trip. And you can meet hundreds of people that you have never thought of meeting. You can see hundreds of things that you have never thought of seeing. And there are still some places like we just spoke about a couple minutes back about how we come from the same particle, the same gene, or but we are still different. We are so very different. And the evolution that has happened, and the place that we are moving on to, it comes with its own destruction, as everyone, as a society moves towards that. It comes with its own destruction. And there are still parts of India which are not completely progressed, as in something like Mumbai or Pune or Chennai or Delhi. There are places which are still more primitive. There are still tribes in India living in India, and these tribes did not know the outside world for just like literally until 200 years back. I met with Apotani tribe in Arunachal Pradesh, and they got discovered like 60 years back, just after the Indian independence. And they did not have their own language. They translated their entire oral tradition into English, and now they speak of that, and all they do is worship the sun, worship the moon, worship the trees. And what we are doing in the process is telling that what you're doing and what you're worshiping, or the sheer materialistic science that just tells us that everything is just a material, everything is just an object in front of you, and there is no soul to any other thing. But when you grow, like you like growing plants, you like growing trees. When you grow a plant, you know that it's an organism. It is growing by itself, and it is using things like we do to grow itself. It's just that it cannot speak. And maybe these tribes, maybe these primitive people knew a lot more about the world that we live in, and they're still there. They're still existing, and they're depleting rapidly, because you give a tribe a TV, and you destroy their entire culture in just years. In just a few years, their entire culture is destroyed. And I've seen that, at least with the Apotani people. They got TVs like 3-4 years back, and they're not doing the things that they were doing for the last hundreds of years, like literally hundreds of years of their culture, and poof, it's gone in 3 years, just by the introduction of daily soaps and opera and news cycles. And it just destroys the human instinct somehow. So this is the entire idea behind doing this trip on hand with a trolley that me and your dad is building up in a factory somewhere nearby, and just walking slowly and seeing how it goes. So
Quite motivating. I mean, I'm quite proud of it, I would say. Very good initiative.
Yeah, a lot of people have said you're just stupid to walk that much.
Yeah, that part could be stupidity, but yeah, it's a part of the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, doing it in the month of April and May, yeah, even more stupider, I would say. But yeah, part of experience.
Yeah, but I mean, it will be an experience. To be honest, I've been doing, huh?
Yeah, I'm just joking. Yeah, of course, it's going to be a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, I've been doing a lot of meditation and breathing techniques and breath work, and I've been working on that for the past few months, and it is actually a blessing that I came across these techniques, and it is actually helping the neurology. And my back is straight now, and my neck was like this when I came here, but it's kind of a bit more straighter, let's say. And this is all because because of my profession, I have to be on Instagram, and I have to be on all these social media sites. So it's actually good moving forward. So yeah. So what are your plans from here on? What 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 uh, what are the specialities that you want to go in, and what is it that you exactly want to do after this?
I would say I'm still quite very open to these ideas of what to do next.
Are you going to join me on the trip?
Sure, once I'm in India, yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
I would need to get a lot of no objection certificates from many people, but yeah.
Yeah. Jokes apart, you tell me what you're going to do next.
Yeah, but no matter what I do, it will be always in the field of research, not necessarily academia or industry, but any kind of field where I will get challenging task in terms of problem solving, I would always be up for the task. Be it any kind of challenge. If I don't have the expertise, I will strive hard to learn it, of course, in that time which I will get, hopefully after my PhD. But yeah, I'm sure I won't be leaving the field of research.
And are you planning to stay in Germany after your PhD? No?
I'll be back in India.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing to know.
Yeah, it's good to be here, like I said, for the resources and for the PhD and everything. But like I said, I was of the mindset that I'm here for finishing it soon with the resources.
Right.
I'm not here because I think otherwise.
Right.
It's always important to know that.
Okay. So you have made up your mind that you're going to come back to India after this.
It's important that you make up your mind before you leave India.
Fair enough. So when's the homecoming?
Hopefully in 2 years.
Oh, that's still a long time. Come on, man. That's still a long time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Anything else you want to add?
Try to reiterate what you just said about your trip. I would motivate more and more people to look through your channels and also observe all your progress you have done. I mean, I have known not just what is there on the social media, but also everything else. So I would really like to wholeheartedly support this campaign which you are undertaking and also all the future endeavors. But I would really like people to look closely at things and understand the perspectives on both sides always. Yeah. I would just like, it was a very different experience, like you also mentioned, to speak first of all in English for so long with someone who you have never spoken to with in English, and also on these topics in front of a camera, that too. So it's a very different experience again.
Did you like it?
Yes.
Was it a good
fun.
experience?
It was fun. Yeah.
Nice one. Nice. So that was the end to the 4th episode of season 1 of the Late Bird podcast. And I hope you all liked it. After this, I'm going to explain to you my message about the trip, about the walking journey that I've been coming up to for the last month, preparing for it, but actually researching on it for the last 6-7 odd months. So if you want to stop here, then you can just leave, or if you want to listen to this, then you're welcome to stay. So on the starting on the 10th of April, I'm going to start walking from the western coast of India, which is from the Arabian Sea in a small town called Narbonne, to the eastern coast of India, which is the Bay of Bengal, and I'll end up my trip in Jagannath Puri. It is this entire trip will be to document the farming crisis that is happening in India, and the lack of coverage to such an important topic like this. And I'm going to document this entire journey, and I have been fortunate enough to have self-funded this entire trip. And if anyone of you who has donated is watching this right now, I'm so pleased and happy that that I know you guys, and that you have supported me for so long. So I'll start walking, and I'm making a trolley. I'm building a trolley, which will be done by today. I think so. And by today, I mean this is the 6th of April when I'm recording this. It will be done by today, and I'll start walking with my backpack and everything else, and I'll slowly go forward from here, from Narvan to Chiploon. Then the route will follow Solapur, Pandharpur, Latur, Parbhani, Akola, Amravati, Nagpur, then into Chhattisgarh, then into Orissa. There are a few people who have reached out to me and said that they will be willing to walk with me, and I'll encourage for anyone who wants to come on this journey, come on this trip, can join me anywhere in between, and walk for a kilometer, for 10 kilometers, for 2 days, 3 days. But I think it will be interesting for anyone who wants to come and join the trip, to see life in a different way, and to get out of their normal habitual routines, and come and join me into this crazy trip that it is going to be. So with that said, the funding page is still open, and I'll link the fundraiser and the bank accounts to the description. So for anyone who still thinks who can fund this trip, because it's going to be a long one and the funding is scarce, quite scarce. So if you want to fund, then there'll be a link in the description below where you can go. And again, thank you all of you who have come and watched this podcast and have been there from the first podcast. And for anyone who hasn't watched the first, second, and third podcast, it's with three brilliant people that I know from my travels. So please go and watch the first, second, and third one, and then you'll love the fourth one as well. I'm guessing. So thank you all of you.
कधी कधी असं बोलायला बरं वाटतं, जरा काय काय गोष्टी डोक्यात असतात अडकलेल्या त्या.